socialism or capitalism and welfare and this and all that. And these are all fake arguments.
Yeah.
The reality is the more money that goes into the economy in a real way creates more economy. And if it's not taken out and extracted, so to speak, by war or by disgusting politicians or by thievery and stuff like that, that money will circulate through the economy. That's why the Norwegians, I think, with their oil, I think they have a fund now that literally a surplus of money. What's $1 million a citizen right now in Norway, wow, just from North Sea oil. Mm-hmm. Now understand that parity and creates economy happens. The engine of it, when we look at economics, it's a circle. Someone buys something, right? Mm-hmm. That money's given to somebody. That somebody then takes that money and buys something. And a little bit of the money is extracted and leaves, and then it goes into the bank account or goes into another country and disappears from our economy. And after a while, that eventually that money is spent, and that creates the economy. Where you enter that circle is almost your theory of economics.
Right.
Okay. Now the parity, the raw material theory of economics, believes that economy is created by when you extract gold or oil or something out of the ground, or you grow something from seed, or you take a rock and chip it away and make a beautiful sculpture, or you take some colors and put them on a painting, on a piece of canvas, and you make a picture that's worth money. That's where money is created. That's the beginning of the cycle. When we are in parity, there's no need for anyone to borrow money.
Right.
So that puts the Federal Reserve out of business.
So that's really, when I wrote this short story, it was about 2007.
Okay.
And I called it Join the Parity. Okay. The concept behind it was like that very thing where we can actually create small pockets, small subcultures where people can actually benefit directly within their social structure.
Well, there's a United Nations study that showed that I think 70-80% of all the food that's generated, all of the wealth that's generated is generated by small communities and small farms around the world. Mm-hmm. Around the world. And when we look at the wars that we've fought since for 100 years, those wars weren't fought in the United States. Those wars were fought where these small pockets of people were created. Right. Everyone should go out and read the Travels of Marco Polo and realize the incredible wealth of the Mideast, the incredible wealth of Africa.
That's the second part of the story. That's
okay.
The second part is redefining wealth in America. This is
okay.
You nailed the two.
Okay. Well, that's the concept.
Concepts.
That's the concept.
Okay.
But that was a real concept.
You didn't even read the
No,
book.
I didn't read that one. No. But when we look at why did where places, and when we look at the creation of the United Nations, the first plank of the United Nations, and I don't want to act like I'm a big pot smoker or something, but the first rule of joining the United Nations, and the only reason anyone would join the United Nations in 1945 was to get some money from the IMF, because the IMF was the Bank of the United Nations. So if you join the United Nations, we'll loan you money to rebuild after World War II. So all of these pockets where all the Germans and Americans and French and stuff were just decimating all these rural people, these rural people, up until 1914, because they were really wasted before 1914, marijuana was a huge. I mean, I actually had access, and I'm going to try to get this online. An 1899 or 1910 edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, and 90% of the marijuana or hemp that was grown in the world was used for industrial purposes and for food, for animals or for people. Incredibly healing, incredibly healthy. There's even a tribe in Africa that believes it was given to them by aliens, and they have this huge celebrations all the time because of the incredible healing. And we know that from hemp seed, but even hemp leaves and marijuana leaves are incredibly healing. And a fresh marijuana plant has no psychoactive properties. You can eat a marijuana bud, a fresh marijuana bud, and it's only going to be healing and healthy to you. It's not going to get you high because it has to be dried and smoked and heated and stuff like that to turn these cannabinoids into THC. And so they knew that, and these global elitists realized they needed, and it's a Hegelian dialectic. It's problem, reaction, solution. They had to create a problem. The reaction was, the problem was World War I. or I guess it started with the Spanish-American War, really, and in Hawaii, the Spanish-American War and the overthrow of the Hawaiian Republic, and it really became with that. Once America, the imperialistic America. It's really funny how historians say America wasn't an imperialistic society until, no one even admits where we are now, but not until the Spanish-American War, right? Mm-hmm. And they ignore that for 150 years we were an imperialistic society because we were subjugating these pockets of people called Indians and American Indians and South Americans and stuff. We were imperialistic. We were fighting wars and germ warfare. We were giving, tainted blankets to Indians and killing them with biological. We were committing biological warfare back in the 1800s. We totally understood that concept.
It's amazing how the definitions seem to change according to the convenience of the time.
Yeah, so once we finished subjugating the American Indians, about 1890, that's when we turned our attention on Hawaii and Asia, the Philippines, which became the Spanish-American War, Cuba, South America, and then we moved on to, I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about the Anglo-American neocolonialists. The model had to change. The colonies of Britain. We're still a colony of Britain, but it's called the United Nations now. The United Nations is a new neocolonialism. Everybody that's a member of the United Nations is basically a colony of the Anglo-Americans, because when you become a member of the United Nations, then you get access to the IMF money. Mm-hmm. With access to the IMF money, read Confessions of an Economic Hitman. With the IMF money, that basically takes control of the local government to the point where all the raw materials are taken away from these countries, and they're turned into poverty. So Ethiopia is a good example right now, is basically selling off hundreds of millions of acres of their millions of acres to China and India and different countries, and they're now colonizing Ethiopia, but in a capitalistic sort of way, and they're kicking out all those indigenous people that are there and committing horrible genocide in the name of, I just bought that land, therefore I can take over the water and I'm going to grow roses for Europe or whatever it is, some stupid thing. Basically, United Nations and IMF money is the new neocolonialism. And if you look at really variant, out there, right-wing conspiracy theorists, they'll say that America is now a colony of the United Nations. And on a certain level, we are. I mean, if you look at all the building codes that are in Hawaii, right, they're all international United Nations building codes. If you look at the Codex Alimentarius that's coming down, it's a United Nations pushed attempt at making certain foods and supplements illegal to sell. Mm-hmm. If we look at most of the health laws and our ability to have a fruit stand on the side of the road, food safety and all that is all international United Nations regulations. And then we start looking at the different trade agreements, the North American trade agreement, the Pacific Partnership that's coming along, are all subverting any of our laws into in kind of an international soup, and taking away basically all our fundamental rights by regulation. But that's a whole other issue. Yeah. So basically, what is supernatural agriculture? Supernatural agriculture is a way to reconnect with our spiritual aspect of our lives, okay? And if we look at a spiritual person, and if we look at a spiritual community, everything should be working. There shouldn't be any poverty. There shouldn't be really that much sickness. Things should be working. Why aren't they working? Why is there so much diabetes? Why is there so much obesity? Why are so many, hundreds of millions of people, literally 100 million people on psychoactive drugs just to keep them happy through the day in America, another 100 million probably on prescription drugs for their liver, for their heart and stuff like that. It's not getting any better. By their fruits we shall know them. I mean, this is a very clear indication. And then who's solving the problems? Einstein said, the guy who creates the problem can't fix the problem. You can't fix the problem with the same system that created the problem, because the system that creates the problem isn't going to solve the problem. Right. They want more problems because they're making money fixing the problems. So we have to have a dynamic, incredible evolution. Now, I'm not talking about a violent revolution, because the violence of the last 100 years, which we're really seeing coming to a head in the Obama administration right now with the multiple wars, the hundreds of countries that are basically have American military complexes within them. I mean, we're the horrible things that are happening in Syria and Libya and Egypt and even in Greece and in Europe, even in Spain and Portugal and the stuff that's happening. We can't go violent. The only thing we can do is to worry about ourselves and our community, and we have to look to our neighbors. We have to look at what can we do to become as healthy as possible. We can't even look at our churches anymore. The churches have been, the 501(c)(3) churches are really just the new government. I don't want to get into this. I want to get into the barbarism of our society. When we look at a really barbaric or savage culture, we have the people that are actually doing stuff. That are actually creating the food, that are creating the houses, that are creating the life, creating the thing. And then we have the government officials who are pretty much useless, the people running things. We have the religious leaders that are pretty much useless, and we have the entertainment guys that are, I play horn and I have a band, but we're pretty much useless. We're not creating anything, we're entertainment and stuff like that. And so to support all these useless people is what it's all about. And if we look at any barbaric culture, we're going to have aspects of the culture that are the government, that are the religious leaders, that are the entertainers, that are the sports people, the entertainers, the sports people. These are the people we hold in high regard. These are the people that carry huge amounts of honor. And unfortunately in our society, we give honor to people that are useless. The more useless they are, the more honor we give them. And just look at go on the TV and look at who we revere. I'm not even going to name names. The useless entertainment people that are just doing, by rote beats and stuff like that makes us think that's entertaining, or the pretty people that are totally useless walking around in their bikinis and we think they're incredible, or I don't know, the real world with all these different people. The more useless people in their entourage, the more honor they get. Mm-hmm. And then what's that culture do to us? So we have people that are receiving a lot of honor because they have a bunch of people that are useless around them. Right. So therefore they have a lot of honor. And so what are their relationships like? So when they get a wife, let's say a man is usually honored, and he's wonderful, and he has all these useless people around them. When he gets a wife, that wife is treated like a useless person. The more useless she can be. That's why women have these long nails, and why women are put onto high heels, and women are these skimpy dresses, and these useless. They're useless. They look pretty, and on a certain level are very attractive, and I'll agree to that. But what the woman in our society becomes is really just the head slave. She's the one that's basically manipulating the other useless people around this other person, and she becomes the head slave. It doesn't allow for a development of a mother. The woman isn't the feeder of the family. The woman isn't the medicine woman. The woman isn't the midwife. The woman isn't raising her child. She isn't the continuity of our race, which is really what it's all about, by creating families and stuff like that. And it all comes back again to food. Because these people were not eating enough food to create the desire in our minds to even be human beings anymore. We're not getting the building blocks. We're not getting the raw materials. We're not getting the minerals. We're not getting the phytonutrients. We're not getting the stimulants, the things that make us happy. All of these things are now coming out of the pharmaceutical industry. They're coming out of some chemist labs. Yeah. And what is the effect of that?
We're almost on to an hour.
We're almost an hour.
Did you want a break for?
I don't need to take a break. Well, why don't we take a break and play some music for people?
Say, yeah,
why don't we do that?
Play one track here. Actually, by Fantuzzi, who I got to see. I got to see him. I got to see him on New Year's Eve over at Kalani Honua.
Great.
So he actually has just come out with a new album for 2014 called Ease and Grace. This is not from this album, but it's definitely Fantuzzi style. This is called Give Thanks.